And we are back, and it is time for nerding out. And this is the part where we have each picked a thing that we are going to talk about. And Shawn, I am very interested to hear. Like, I didn't even think that when I saw in the doc that this was the band Kansas, but I'm like, wait, what? What is Kansas? The Prelude? Implicit. I'm like, wait, what is this? So, Shawn, tell me about the Prelude Implicit.
I chose this because, progressive rock is the nerdy rock anyway. So, and if you're younger and you're listening to this and you listen to progressive rock right now, Kansas is one of the legacy bands of progressive rock. Like, you would know them from Dust in the Wind, and you would know them from Carry On Wayward Son, especially if you watch Supernatural. But Kansas had so much more. And if you go back to like some of their earlier albums, they had really layered symphonic type rock music. And this is a band that came out originally. Their first album, I think, was 1974. Their lead singer, Steve Walsh, retired about 2 years ago. He had been having vocal problems for a while, and he decided to retire. They replaced him with a new singer and put out a new album, which is their first album in something like 15 or 16 years. And it is really wonderful. They brought back the more in-depth violin that they used to have back when Robbie Steinhardt was in the band. They've brought back, they've got a lot of hard rock, pieces in there. They've got the orchestral pieces in there. This sounds like a Kansas album from the late 70s, probably, which is when they were in their heyday. That was Left Overture with Carry On Wayward Son and Point of No Return with Dust in the Wind. I mean, this was their time, for that band. And this album really does a fantastic job of hearkening back to that. And it's a beautiful album to listen to with your headphones on and just absorb all of the music, all of the background music, the orchestrations, the layering of the different keyboard lines that they're doing. So if you're into progressive rock, you're into orchestral rock or anything, go and check this out. And I would even say go further back and check out a lot of Kansas's old stuff because, this is one of my favorite bands. I've seen them live 10 times. So I just haven't seen the new lineup yet. I'm just waiting. So that'll probably be my 11th and baby final time of getting to see them. But they were one of the first concerts I went to as a teenager, even though I was born about 10 years too late for their heyday of music and everything. But growing up, I shared a room with my brother who was 10 years older than me. So it was listen to Kansas Sticks, Foreigner, Queen, or go to sleep really fast, because when we went to bed, that's what was playing. But yeah, I mean, I just think overall it's a great album. The new lead singer sounds enough like their old lead singer that it's not jarring, but it's not, like, when I listen to the new Journey stuff, I almost have a little bit of trouble because the guy sounds so much like Steve Perry. With this, the guy doesn't sound exactly like Steve Walsh, but he's got the same like vocal range and things. So they're able to pull off a lot of the same types of songs. So I think the guy was a really good choice for it. And, I can't wait to, hopefully this summer they'll come back around here. So.
No, yeah, that's cool. I want to say this is the first music thing we had on here, so
about time.
Oh,
but
awesome.
It's nice. Yeah, I could be wrong. Beat will probably yell at me later, like,
I know,
dude, we covered it a while back ago.
I was worried, yeah, to wait.
But no, yeah, Kansas, yeah, and you beat Christy Cates to this too. I mean, which is great because we have Christy coming on in a couple weeks. So
cool.
But yeah, so. No, that's really cool. I have the respect for Kansas because this goes, like you were 10 years later. I was 20 or so years later. I will say that as to not make you feel incredibly old.
I have kids that make me feel incredibly old. I'm good.
But it's one of those things that, like, my uncle grew up listening to. Or he was listening to that because that was the rock radio station here in Michigan that played them like played all the bands you just said there, plus Metallica, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, and all that stuff, and actually still do play all those guys. And I'm like, at a certain point, they're gonna have to change their name to classic rock.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of sad though when some of the stuff that you grew up listening to suddenly shows up on the classic rock channel, like all of a sudden, like not so much early U2, but like U2 Joshua Tree starts getting played there, and you're like, oh no, that's not right.
But I think we have to thank Supernatural because there's so many generations that were exposed to it because of
Yeah.
And even Rock Band. I mean, Rock Band and Guitar Hero, they had they had a lot of these. That's where like I can't hear like stuff from like Beastie Boys or the White Stripes without thinking of the Guitar Hero progressions. And granted, I only did it on medium because it was 4 buttons, didn't have to get the 5th one involved. But it's just sitting there going, it's like 7 Nation Army on that and just doing pretty good. Because I wasn't glutton for punishments. Like, let's do expert with Dragon Force. Like, no, fuck that.
Yeah, that was an interesting game from a musical standpoint because like playing it with my kids, all of a sudden I've got my kids listening to Squeeze because Cool for Cats is on there. But at the same time, I like never knew who Modest Mouse was until I started playing those, and I thought, wow, these guys are pretty good. And Paramore and some of those other bands I kind of discovered by being an older person playing with their kids. So that was kind of a cool game that they had there.
No, yeah, definitely. So I would do mine, and then Beat has a mini one because mine's sort of related because of the music that they have on here, and mine is the series premiere of the Grand Tour. This is Amazon's original show that is starring the old Top Gear guys, Jeremy Clarkson, James May, and Richard Hammond, and the first episode, holy crap. And I do echo some of the things that Tom Merritt may have said on Cord Killers, this because I watched that before coming on here. Like, yeah, the opening cinematic was a little bit like a middle finger to the BBC, but oh well, get over it. There was surprisingly a lot of comedy. Well, not surprisingly, but there was more late night talk show comedy in here than there was with the old stuff. So they had like the 2 bits. The first one, as they're in their new roving studio, and they're like, and they filmed the first episode out in California, and they're like, all right, so here, what do you call that thing that you shift, in a manual car? And so we're like, a lever. It's like a stick. No, it's not a stick. This is a stick. And he holds up a stick, and it's used. You can't use it to shift a car. You could use it to point to things. Like, for instance, what do you call this? And it's a picture of what we call a hood. And you're like, hood. And some of them are catching on, like, bonnet. It's like, no, it's a bonnet. Like, and someone else, bonnets are what you put on your head. Words can have 2 meanings. They can have multiple meanings. And it's great stuff. Like, I always love doing that, like, hearing that, like, oh, how we're wrong. It's not like we're like, oh, we're just Americans. It's like, no, we're wrong in how we say our things. Or for
like, the Royal Air Force skit.
Yeah. But the one thing I will say that I will honestly recommend is watching this with the Amazon X-Ray, because you get the best experience with that. You get the stats, like the extra stats on your, like, on the car that they're talking about. Like this one, the first episode's called The Holy Trinity, and they have the extra stats on the McLaren P1 and the Ferrari LaFerrari, and all these cars, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's great, because it makes it to where they don't have to sit there and explain every single fact. It's like, oh, because it would get a little boring at the same time, like, and it goes 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, and stuff like that. It's just stuff that they can throw in. And also when they have these big adventures, or like the opening where they show off all these cars, including cars that were used in the Fast and Furious franchise, and stuff like that. And also pointed out that they did some corrections to the firing resume of Richard Hammond and James May, because they had also been fired from other places too. But I was surprised to hear that Jeremy Clarkson had never been fired. I'm like, wait, really? Come on. He had to have been fired at some point. I'm like, nope. Surprisingly, this is true. I'm like, sweet. I enjoyed the bits that they had with these celebrities, with Jeremy Renner, Armie Hammer, and Carol Vorderman. I couldn't think of her first name. I sort of want to see them actually do the game thing, and not this just be a recurring bit throughout the whole thing, just because I don't think that would really I think that would get old really quick. And I could see them like this. It's, for the most part, it is the old Top Gear. You know, it is what I think what a lot of people were missing from the Matt LeBlanc and Chris Harris hosted Top Gear. But I do think they have some room to grow. I love their quote unquote new Stig, who is I can't think of his actual name. It's Mike something. He NASCAR driver who they just call the American. And I'm like, this is great. This is just awesome. Him going, this is communist. I don't like this. This is just all these real Southern sayings. And I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. But yeah, I truly enjoyed the show. I watched it on Friday and Saturday. Like I rewatched it again just because, and so great to see these guys back.
And
so
it's in the UHD. So if you're on Amazon, you get a brilliant quality. If you have such a TV, it's one thing to watch out for.
Yeah, that's if you do have the 4K ultra high definition, check it out on there, because the cars look so pretty. Jeremy Clarkson, as much as you could, he looks as good as you can make.
A shaved monkey in a suit, or what did they call him?
A shaved orangutan in a suit. But yeah, so I mean, that is my recommendation. We will have links to both the Kansas, where to pick up the album, and the Grand Tour in our show doc. Beat, you got a mini nerding out for us.
Yeah, because you talked about the Rock Band and Kansas. There's a game out now or is out for some years now. There's Rocksmith, where you get a cable that you can check into a real guitar or bass and play along and learn the basics, learn the higher scales, and you got Muse and other Kansas stuff that blows your brain. So that's something that when you're a gamer and a musician and want to combine both, there you go. That's my mini suggestion, my mini nerding out.
Have you used that, Beat? Because I've looked at it a lot of times, and it really does work.
I bought it for the Xbox in the first edition, then 2014 on Steam. And they have the sales tomorrow. The 23rd start is autumn Steam sale. So you could pick it up for various DLCs to go along with. And when you're not sure, you can watch on Twitch. They have the Ubisoft Studios San Francisco. They do a live stream, which each DLC they come out, they play it with great musicians and developers that do it. And so you get a taste of it. If you're not sure, just watch the stream. You will fall in love with it.
Excellent.
Nice. That was one that I thought, I'm like, wait, that still is a thing? Oh, yeah. Like, I honestly thought that because I had heard about it a while back ago with when Rock Band and Guitar Hero were so huge.
I recommended it to Ayaz back in 2012 when I was at the Twitter, and he fell for it as well. Yeah.
And then it's like, I saw it at work the other, like, about a month ago, like right when I started working, someone asked me, I'm like, does that thing still exist? Like, Rocksmith, why? I thought that flopped. But no, I mean, if it's still doing well, hey, great. Because that's the one thing that I always, with playing Rock Band at my church when I was in the youth room, it was one thing to see that you had the actual musicians had to adjust themselves to playing, especially if we're doing like a head-to-head thing, and they're like, "Wait, hold up," like because they're wanting to move their hands down the neck. I'm just sitting there, just hitting all the notes and stuff, and just royally messing them up. Like, come on, man, knock it off. I'm like, learn quicker.
Yeah, not for Shawn. The cable itself is usable for any audio app you have. So you could plug it in. It's like $40 or something like that. Then you have direct audio card integrated in it.
Cool.
Nice. All right. That is Nerding Out.